What is up, everyone? Week 6 of a Dave and a Dan. Dave is here. He survived the government-created hurricane, according to all the sports bettors out there. But what about Lieutenant Dan? Did he survive? Because I don't know if you're aware of this. There's a guy who became popular. I think it started on TikTok, then it made its way through social media. A guy who was in his boat in Tampa called Lieutenant Dan, and everyone was talking about if he was going to survive. And you couldn't just talk about it. It wasn't enough for everybody to see this story about this guy. Oh my God, is he going to pull through? People were offering to pay for a bigger boat. But then, then they had to release a sportsbook line on this guy actually surviving. And they released the odds on Lieutenant Dan from the TikTok video. Will he survive Milton? And you could, I guess, I'm pretty sure whatever this place is, they accept Bitcoin, and you could have placed a wager on that. And I've seen some obscure wagers. You use in the Caribbean. There was a bet, Dave, this is 100% true. I was in the office where me and Alex used to work, and I showed people. You could place a bet. Who will die first? Artie Lang or Bob Barker? So
yeah, Artie had some rough years. Let's put it. Artie's one of my favorites ever, man, from like the 01 to the 09 Howard Stern days. So I still pay attention. You've got that big nose back there on your wall. He doesn't have a nose anymore. So I had hoped that he would get some reconstructive surgery. He hasn't yet. But yeah, man, that hits close to home. I love Artie Lang, and I hope he's amazing, though, right? That he lived longer than Bob Saget, Norm Macdonald, and Gilbert Gottfried. How? How is that possible?
I have a drawn-out theory that won't be for this show about not so much guys like Artie Lang, but how miserable people don't get Alzheimer's because they're too crotchety to let go of things, and their mind stays so sharp. My grandfather was a prick to people. Yeah, I swear to you, when he was in the hospital, before he was, because one of his organs was starting to shut down, so it wasn't mind-related. This guy is literally in his final bed telling me, you got to go to the dry cleaners. I left 2 of my jackets there. They have some things in the pockets. We can't let them get it. This is what happened to it. My grandma never said a bad word about anybody anywhere once. Her brain was toasted at the end. And it makes sense. You know, I don't think they'll accept this so much at Alzheimer's research, but you let your mind float out there too much, it will float away. But if you get hung up on every last nickel and trial and tribulation, I think you're going to stay sharp. So all you people who may be dealing with early onset Alzheimer's, be a little bit more miserable, and that's my way to keep you. That's my way to keep you in the game. But when I saw that bet on Lieutenant Dan, it made me think of that Black Mirror episode where it was like you basically are being Yelp reviewed by everybody at all times throughout the day. If you have an unpleasant transaction with the girl who is serving you at a restaurant, after that, she like downgrades your social credit score, and it's basically live credit scores on people that you can see hovering above their head. Seeing that Lieutenant Dan bet made me think that in an augmented reality type of situation in the future, you're going to be able to place an order for your Starbucks coffee, and you're going to have the option to put on the Draftkings VR helmet and take the over or under 3.5 minutes on your coffee, just live betting your life away, because I think that's our trajectory. Would you partake in those type of theoretical augmented live bets?
Yeah, that type
They'll
of
offer
stuff.
boost. Do you imagine the boost?
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff scares me. The whole that stuff concerns me when you stop living inside of a reality. I mean, you look at Black Mirror, how much of that is like a semi-reality at this point. But I will say, I don't know what site that was that you found that Lieutenant Dan bet. Never seen it, but had I known about it, I absolutely would have sprinkled on the no, just because what a great. So I'm dead serious too. What a great sweat that would have been. Like I would have, it's just Nothing.
Are you on weather.com checking this constant trajectory?
Are you kidding? Yeah. That would have been, I mean, a great sweat. You put a unit, put a unit on the no and ride it out.
Checking the live stories to see like anybody who
Yeah.
may have.
Yeah. This guy's a moron. All right. Now, I understand there were reasons like he wasn't allowed. I don't know if you've seen all of the reports coming out about this guy. I have not
He,
done it.
he was a bum. He was a bum beforehand. Got arrested a few times, right? Something like
Yeah,
that.
and that's why I'm not going to speak to what the charges were because some of them are far more disturbing.
If you're not allowed to leave the state because of crimes you've committed, you know how they say you can't leave this state. Is it illegal to flee during a natural disaster? You
It's a
would think
good.
there's some sort of
It's a,
carve out.
it's a good question. What was his reasoning, by the way? Like, why did he say he was riding it out?
I know about the obscure markets. You say those things kind of scare you. I don't want to say that you were scared per se, but you were a little surprised a week or two ago when you texted me right after our last episode. You texted me about something that happened to you when you were out. Would you mind sharing
Oh
that
yeah,
story?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty funny.
And by the way, for what it's worth, uh, I might not ever get Alzheimer's either because I'm becoming so cynical and I'm 37. Like I look at this guy and I look at these, the Hawk Tua chick and all that, and I'm like, we just continue to reward idiocy, and I've had enough of it, Andy. All right, that's enough of me for today. Either way, yeah. So I'm walking the other week. I hope he's watching. The other week I'm walking. I got the baby in the stroller. My 3-year-old's on her little training wheels bike, and I got the dog in the other hand. And I'm walking down to the playground with them, and I hear, "Yo, I love the MegaloDAN bit" from across the street. And it's a guy that lives in my neighborhood, was with his wife and his young girl, was walking across the street. We just got into talking about the show. It's like, oh, you watched David and Dan? He said, yeah, sure did. Shouted out across the street. Love the MegaloDAN bit. I thought that was pretty cool.
All right. So maybe we'll have to, if it kind of resonates with people that much, maybe our favorite money line or spread. Or maybe if we agree with the public, like if we see those donkey charts eventually when they come up, we get to say, I actually like that. Like you liked.
That's a good one.
Yes. So that's what the MegaloDAN play will be when we see those donkey charts, and we're going to ride with the Dans. It's going to be a true MegaloDAN tidal wave. Us, you, and we're all going to lose our money together. And that is a little concern of mine now that hockey has started. I wonder, if you're going to see a dip in my play. For these first 5 weeks, I was a vulture. I was always checking. You couldn't slip something by me. I mean, I see Josh Jacobs' line pop up like last Wednesday or Thursday. I'm texting Dave. Dave, you seeing this? 59.5 on this one side. You couldn't sneak something by me. But now that I have to, check here and check there, I'm a little bit worried. And which is why, and I don't mean anybody to take offense by this, just a personal Andy opinion. I never trusted anybody who bets on everything. Yeah. How can you do it? How can you possibly?
Like, the only reason I can do it is because of the Odd Shopper EV tools. Like, there's no way I'd be able to do that on my own.
Yes. If you place trust in stuff.
That's different.
This is called my Sidney Crosby theory, and I don't want you to take offense to this as a man with a family, or Jaromir Jagr and then into Sidney Crosby. I always told people, because Jaromir Jagr stayed single his whole life, and he had an interview, and he just said, well, everything that I do, I commit to like 100%, and if there was any little bit of me that I couldn't give to hockey, then I would just leave and start a family. I've always surmised that Sidney Crosby by himself is greater than signed than Sidney Crosby, who had to start a family and wake up 3 times in the middle of the night. The optimal Sidney Crosby has his whole life oriented around playing in the NHL. Now, I've seen Clayton Kershaw say it was the opposite. He was able to calm down once he had a family and not just stew over things. So there's a part of that resonates with me as well. But now that we have NFL and NHL, we're going to see if I can, be one of those jugglers in the circus. I'm fighting a 2-front war now. Okay, and we know how that ended in Europe when somebody tried to take that one on.
So wait, is Crosby married now? Is that what you're saying?
You know what's hilarious? I still don't know.
I
Sidney
I
Crosby
I
has one of the most private lives
yeah.
ever, and I think
And
he is now.
I I googled Sidney Crosby wife, and the first thing that came up was a Reddit post asking a question: Is Sidney Crosby an incel? He's been in the show for nearly 20 years, and we've never seen a wife, girlfriend, or ex. Nothing. There's not even rumors about potential. That is the first question out there. So, but then I saw something further down that he's got a really hot wife. So
So originally it was always Jagr, and then I also used Crosby because you never knew. Maybe some of those articles came up. Remember, this is Crosby's 20th year in the league. I'm talking about year 13, 14. You were never hearing anything. I'm like, this guy, I trust that he's always going to be good because he's dedicated. Now you have Alex Ovechkin. Do me a favor. I'm sorry. I know this is a football show. Alex, you show him what Ovechkin looked like between when he started and now. And you're going to see a guy who had to wake up in the middle of the night a couple times to treat them kids.
how gray he is now. Yeah, the
He
white.
looks
Yeah,
like a wizard from the Lord of the Rings
I
movies. This
know.
guy does not look like a National Hockey League player. Even that one on the right is being kind. Alex, Google Alex Ovechkin now, and you will know what I'm talking about. That one is even on the right from a couple years ago.
There
There's
you
old
go.
gray beard. Look at that second one.
Crazy. He's 2 years older than me.
There's a movie called like Old or something where you go on a beach and you age a lifetime in like a couple of days.
M. Night
That's when
Shyamalan.
Ovechkin stepped in. Yeah. And I just watched that Josh Hartnett one the other night. Kind of dragged on like this opening segment. Oh my God, is that a transition or what? It's a perfect time to partake in another episode of It's Rigged. It's rigged. Those are the people that's who believes that Jordan Mason was pulled from the game last night because the NFL needs everybody to lose their overs. Jordan Mason, who it was known beforehand how many people. I saw that. I saw 99% of the people were on the Jordan Mason over. And Alex, if you can pull it up, what did I tweet? I said, looks like Purdy's going to be airing it all over the place because, I mean, look, he didn't end up going wild, but he did hit all of his passing overs, touchdowns, and passing yards. I don't know if he hit the completions or attempts or anything like that. But if I can see that, if I see everybody's going one way, then how rigged is it if they're rigging it for you? So look at what this one other guy said, by the way. This was his response. This is the most suspect thing I've seen in a long time. An NFL running back who's been getting 29 carries a game, running up the middle.
It's a sprained AC joint. We just got news as the show started.
He tries to come back. He's literally trying to be a hero for you, playing with that type of injury, and then is like, Coach, I can't. It's destroyed. This is the most suspect thing I've ever seen in my life. So if a guy sits out, it's rigged. If he tries to come back, it's rigged. It's always rigged. And I guess that brings us to this week's Donkey Charts, where we talk about some of our plays. Now, since I'm not going to do an NFL video this weekend, like my own one, because I have some previous obligations, I'm going to talk to you about some of my picks. But before we get to those, what are we looking at on these charts here? I mean, we could start with, the case of Donkitis up at the top. Falcons, -6. Playing Carolina. Carolina's awful. Andy Dalton, honeymoon period over. They're back to being the team that's never going to win again. Falcons, 3-2. The tie for the division. They're going to destroy them. You watch Kirk Cousins be a favorite over the course of his career, and I would be pretty worried any single time you're clicking on a -6.
There's two sides of this one. On one hand, when you bet against Carolina this season, it's typically worked out pretty well aside from one game. And that was the Vegas game in Dalton's first start. Maybe it's a dead cat bounce. I don't know. Because the last 2 weeks, this is the thing about them. They are 1-4 against the spread. They've lost by 37, 23, 10-26. But on the other hand, I'm not laying a touchdown on the Falcons ever. This Falcons team finds better ways than any team in the league to keep games competitive and bring them down to the wire. I'm not doing that. Plus, guess what? You know what the cool part about these games are? You don't actually need to bet them. So,
whoa. That's an option?
Isn't that incredible? I mean, this may be earth-shattering news to some, but there's a bunch of other games on this slate today or this week. So when I say I'm not laying the points on the Falcons, it doesn't mean, I'm betting the Panthers either. I actually like the total in this game. I like it to go over. I've been betting the over on the Panthers because their offensive line blocks extremely well. Even with an injury, I forget his name. He tore his bicep tendon, but they have a really solid offensive line that can pass block. They've run blocked really well. Chuba Hubbard's been outstanding. They actually can put points on the board. The problem is they have no personnel on defense to stop anybody. So I would rather go back to the well with the over, like we did with the Raiders game, like we did with the Cincinnati game. I didn't do it last week, but that game went over as well with Chicago. That's where I'd rather play this. They're 4-1 to the over this year. They're 1-4 against the spread.
So one of the plays that I like from here, I feel like there's nothing much to say. I feel like you're just going to look at it and be like, yeah, I could see that. Took it last week. I just think it's something that if I was a sports book, I really wouldn't offer this. Sometimes they just won't they won't list certain players for certain things because there's some uncertainty. And this is Kirk Cousins under 1.5 rushing attempts. Why would they list that for the guy coming off of a torn Achilles? He's clearly been hesitant to move a lot. It's starting to get better a little bit, but to actually run forward, I mean, he had 0 last week. I think 1 the week before that. It's just something that I know there's some juice, but in a game where unless you anticipate.
Don't do it.
You're telling me not to do it.
Don't do it.
Good. It's proof that you tell me these things and you don't just agree. And B, I didn't really have a good feeling about this. It just seems correct.
Well, okay. So here's why. He's definitely not going to run, okay? But kneel down attempts count for rushing attempts. So if they kneel to close this game out as 6-point favorites, I would much rather grab under half a rushing yard on Kirk Cousins. I've done that a couple of times this year. If he kneels twice, that's 2 rushing attempts.
You just saw a real life, oh my God, I just didn't factor that in. That's why there's a Dave, and that's how you morph from being a Dan.
Dan.
See if you can get that cash out. If
You probably can, honestly. You probably can. Who knows? Maybe it comes down to the wire and they don't kneel. I'm just saying, if kneel down, think of it this way. If kneel down attempts didn't count, that'd be under half a rushing attempt, or half a rushing attempt under would be heavily juiced. Under half a rushing attempt.
Yeah. I should have known better. How dare I think like, oh, this is just so simple. They've laid it out in front of me and that's it. It just truly slipped my mind.
I do that stuff all the time. And we've both been betting a while. It happens a lot where I just look at something and go, I'm in it. Like I've had times where I'm about to submit a play and I go, oh, that would have been bad. Like, it just slips your mind. It happens all the time, man. Plus, you're doing 2 different sports. But yeah.
There's a legendary video you can see of Phil Ivey, who's like one of the best poker players in the world. He had a straight, and somebody like raised him with baloney after. He didn't even realize. He looked at his cards and folded them. And the announcer's like, I don't understand. Did he not know? And after he goes, I didn't know.
Yeah, it happened. You just short circuit sometimes. We all do.
Yeah, so if we can go back to those donkey charts for a second, I'm just going to work my way down. We have a very interesting one. You got Texans going on the road to play the Pats. They're another one of these heavily bet teams. You got a lot of donkeys out there. You go, come on, man, it's the Texans. They won their division. They beat the Bills. They're going to play. Oh, the Patriots. Have you seen the Patriots? Week 1, long time. I love the dunce voice, by the way. Incapable of even having a semi-articulate thought. Oh, but you don't need a thought when you can bet against the Patriots on the road. He's -7. A rookie quarterback in his first start. Well, that's what I actually find most interesting is the unknowns of a rookie quarterback. I'll let you talk about the game for a sec, and then I'm just going to show you. So I haven't taken anything. I just found I have a question to ask about some players in this game, but what was your take overall on a game where you have a road team against a rookie quarterback and they're favored by 7 full touchdowns?
All right, so teams that are this is the craziest stat in the world, and it's not sustainable. We know that. Just like Thursday night football unders last year, it's not sustainable. But I would be remiss to not mention it, right? Because like you look at the last 2 Thursday night games where we have like 60 points and what was yesterday 34-27 or something. It was stupid,
Yeah,
right? A lot of,
yeah.
and then Bucks Falcons prior to that, ton of points. What I'm getting at though, underdogs this year, Andy, of 6+ points are 16-2-1 against the spread and 11-8 straight up. How is that? And I know you knew this, but like, how is that even? They're not like the spread. All right, fine, that's still insane, but they're well above 500 straight up. It's nuts. And the Patriots took Seattle to overtime in Seattle. I'm sorry, in New England, so at home. Uh, they beat the Bengals. Look, I think they're a bad football team. Please don't twist what I'm saying here. But the Nico Collins absence to me is pretty significant. Joe Mixon is another one where it's seeming unlikely again that he plays in this game. Right now, it seems like he's probably going to miss another game. I'll tell you what, that offense, after Nico Collins went down after that big touchdown reception at the end of the first quarter, that offense didn't look good. And the Bills' defense hasn't been great at all. They scored 9 points over the final 3 quarters after Nico Collins went down. So, yeah, I think they win this game. I'm not laying 7 on the road. No, certainly not. And yes, Ramondre Stevenson has been ruled out for New England. But this is another
Well,
spot where
that just hit me. See, another great thing is when somebody else is talking, I'm just getting visuals as you're saying these things. A rookie quarterback and Ramondre Stevenson ruled out. The first thing I thought is 8 passes to Gibson. So, Alex, while we're talking about this, can you pull up Antonio Gibson's receiving total? So basically, you would be very hesitant to bet -7 on the Texans. I think the best part of this is the unknown of what you're getting on the Patriots side. Are you going to get that artificial boost? We've seen this both ways. You get the artificial boost, and oh my God, all these Patriots players have value all of a sudden. Like this looks completely different. Players are just playing with a different level of excitement on both sides of the ball. And what I wanted to show you when I was looking at all the totals, both of their receivers have such low totals that if this is option A, I would not even just take the over. I'm saying if this guy ends up balling out, I would take 60 plus. I mean, their totals are in like the 30s, and I'm talking about Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas.
it's possible, yeah. Drake might also just die in this game. Like he might just get killed.
And this is not one where I'm saying like, oh, this is a calculated play. That Antonio Gibson, I do think is a calculated play. But these two, I'm saying, I wouldn't take this over 32 or 26. I would take the over 50 on Polk and the over 60 on Douglas, just in case. We don't know. We will see.
Yeah, look, I get it. Yeah, like why not go for the alt there and just try and go for all of it? My biggest play of the week last week was actually an over for the Patriots was Ramondre Stevenson.
I saw that. I saw
firmly not bought in to Gerard Mayo benching Stevens. You knew you could see it from a mile away. He's going to not play him for the first drive. They're going to go 3 and out. And by the way, I'm not just like Monday morning quarterbacking. This is exactly what I said before it happened. They're going to go 3 and out. And then Ramondre Stevenson's going to get all the work because he's the only guy in the league since 2021 with a higher fumble rate than Ramondre Stevenson is Antonio Gibson. Come on.
Same backfield.
It's just one of those spots. So what I'm saying, though, is I placed multiple units on the standard line just because it was too low. But I also sprinkled on the 100 plus, and we almost got there. We didn't. It got to 89. I thought we'd have a shot. It's similar to this in that you're trying to go for the top 5% outcome, which is priced as like a 1% probability play. So what I'm saying, like, if you think there's a higher likelihood because of the unknown that these guys get there, and you think the odds should be a lot shorter than they actually are on these alts just because of that unknown, then why not sprinkle? Because that's where I was on Stevenson
This
last
is a
week.
weird thing to say. I think the lines are right. I would price the alts lower if I was a sportsbook manually, just in case the offense goes off. My whole life is screw job, prevent, defense. I'd be the worst sportsbook around because my adage would be, I know what you're trying to do. Can you
Yeah.
imagine it said that when you that's the
Yeah,
quote.
yeah,
That's
right.
the mission statement. I know what you're trying to do on this fucking on Sniff Sportsbook.
That would be
Anyway,
great. You just have like two eyeballs. Yeah, that would be sick. So okay. Douglas 80 plus is 11 to 1, 70 plus is 6 plus 650, and 60 plus is plus 425. Does
oh
Polk
my
have an
God.
alt? Polk 60 plus is plus 650. 70 plus on Jalen Polk is 10 to 1 if you like that. I'm
Not
personally
willing.
not doing it, but I get where you're coming
No,
from.
I'm talking about Dinky Donuts plays. Like I'm not doing it like this. Actually, on the donkey charts, I just started from the top to the bottom. This isn't. This is what
I kind
I
of
would
no,
say.
but listen. I obviously I'll tell you if I disagree. There is something to be said, not just about the fact that there's the unknown with Drake May, but also that they're mixing things up, and these young guys are going to start to see more opportunity in a fully lost season. And I could see that becoming even more prevalent now that you've got the rookie quarterback in there. Why not use the season to build some chemistry? Jalen Polk played 100% of snaps last week. So yeah, if I'm going anywhere here, now you got me hyped up a little bit. If I'm going anywhere here, I think the 70 plus at 10 to 1 has got to be it on Jalen Polk.
Let's go plus 1,000 Jalen Polk, but that's more of a sprinkle play. The next game on the list there actually provides kind of my favorite play. The same way I texted you about Josh Jacobs 59.5. I go, is this a scam? I texted you once again and I said, is this a scam? And this is in this Giants Bengals game. I think it's Sunday Night Football. And I'll let you talk about the game as a whole after. But there has to be an issue here. T. Higgins has literally been targeted off the charts. He has, I saw, the second most expected fantasy points of all wide receivers since he's played. So this is a guy who's up there with the upper echelon. And I see they open him up at 51.5 against the Giants. Are you nuts? The way the Bengals have been playing and them having injuries at running back? Maybe is this the equivalent of a donkey play prop? Do they know something I don't?
No, I think it's a pretty decent spot. Let's see what it's at now. It's up to 54.5 on Pinnacle. Yeah, listen, Joe Burrow's arguably been the best quarterback in football, playing with the worst defense in football. I will say the Giants' corners have been, like, if there's a defense that has been surprisingly good, it's them. Now, we knew that with guys like Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence we knew that with them on the defensive line, that those guys could get it done, right? If you got things working. The secondary was the suspect one. And the thought was, like, if you can protect the quarterback, you should be good against this Giants pass defense. They've been pretty good. But again, Joe Burrow has been so good that at 54.5, we'll use 54.5 because I think Hard Rock's only available in like 6 states.
No, they were all 51.5 when I texted.
They all were. Okay, so they actually came up. I got you.
Yeah. I didn't try to just find an obscure. Oh, you could
right.
Look at the top right. Look at the top right. Hard Rock 54.5. So it's 54.5 there as well.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, you didn't just find it on Fliff and you're like, all right, everybody, hammer this.
Oh, I even took this on BetMGM, so I know for a fact it was there.
For sure. Yeah, well, it's moving. So, I mean, you're clearly on the right track here.
I mean, are people seeing how he's being used and seeing it? Like, this is full prime T. Higgins right now playing for a contract, and him and Chase are getting peppered. That's 2 big weeks in a row. And I know last week was more so with the touchdowns, but it's clearly the offense is running through them, dealing with running back injuries. God, I sound like a guy who's betting on the Bengals, but I definitely wouldn't do that Why don't you talk about that? Did you provide any insight for that game? What was
I
your thought there?
Yeah, I did the betting video over on the Odd Shopper channel. By the way, shout out to your people for coming and showing some support on those videos as well. Greatly appreciated. Thank you to you, Andy.
Oh man, we as I texted you earlier this week, you guys are always going to be grandfathered in. For a guy who has been screwed by many facets of the industry, I will always do everything I can to help the first company that gave me a platform to be seen a little bit.
Well, we loved what you did over there. I clearly still love what you do. That's why I'm on here with you every week. But I leaned Giants plus 3.5. It does suck though that Neighbors is out. I really thought so. I did the video on Tuesday because I want to get people the early lines, right? Like I want
Yeah,
to get people lines. Like where I submit picks and stuff, I'm trying to get them in before Tuesday because you know how it works. Like you have that price discovery, they allow low limits like to sharp betters, and then they really start to move. But if you get in early, you can get some really good movement on the favorable movement. I
Dave,
should
this
say
is
you
like.
can get some good lines. What's
Do
that?
you remember last week we brought this up and we talked about? I said, "Isn't it interesting? This spread is 6.5. Neighbors can not play in this game. We can finally get confirmation, and Singletary cannot play, and the spread won't even move.
You nailed
And
it. Yep.
and then they go out and win. There could not be a better personification of NFL betting than that right there. They're showing you why isn't the line going up? You got Neighbors out. That's how much they value, by the way. All you be the team is Neighbors. You can't bet. They're valued so much that the line didn't even move a point and the Giants go in there and win the game. Like, think about it. You're a regular guy. You think you know, but you're in your 3 fantasy leagues, and now you
Yep.
claim you're knowledgeable with the NFL. You go, there's no Neighbors. There's no Singletary. We have to take it. The line didn't move. And then what are you doing on Sunday? Your friends are about to boot you out of the league because that type of thing. And with my group of friends, you get one chance at giving advice. You blow that, it's a 10-year grace period before you're trusted in any facet of life. You blow something like that, you can't suggest a restaurant. Yeah, okay. The guy who fucking told me to bet against the Giants just because Neighbors was out. I've seen this play out so many times. Everything, they're leading you to the water.
Yep.
You'd rather have the Giants plus 3.5. My
Well,
theory is
plus
always
4
prime
now.
time.
I think the Neighbors news probably moved it a half a point or something. Because last week it's really weird though because they played Thursday night, not last Thursday, but the Thursday prior to that against the Cowboys. So that's a real extended period of time that this guy's been out, right? Like that's a lot. So I don't know, but yeah, I'd still lean the. You know why I'd still lean the Giants here? Because how are you laying 4 on a bet? No matter how good Burrow's been, I think we both agree he's been spectacular. And Jamar Chase is awesome. T. Higgins, my boy Chase Brown's been great as well. But how do you lay 4 points on the road team when the defense has shown thus far that they are thoroughly incapable of stopping anybody? They gave up
Very
24 to Carolina too. Let's not forget that.
They're 1-4 for a reason, taking them in prime time when most. Oh my God, I could hear them already. I can hear them already. They're about to go up by 4. An extra point gets blocked or something, and then they win by 3. And then
And it's rigged.
I can just see it coming already. Back to the charts, back to another game. And we have no Derek Carr, which he was well on his way to getting that team to 500. I tried giving everybody a nice warning, but now he's out of this game. And that changes the dynamics to me. There are a couple of plays that I like here. What was your view of this game as a whole? Regular people, you know what they're thinking. Oh my God, quarterback first start. I got to take the Bucks. Did you see the Bucks? They're 3-2. They're playing. They scored all those points. Unlucky to lose at the end of the game. Another 3.5,
so
a rat spread. 3.5 is the biggest rat number I've ever seen.
I bet him at 2.5, and I feel like I had to on principle.
That's great.
Bet him at 2.5 on Tuesday. I wouldn't touch it at 3.5. No chance. Quite frankly, I would consider the Saints at 3.5 if I didn't already have exposure to this Bucks team. Spencer Rattler starting, that's not, an encouraging sign by any stretch. and I'm not saying like here's another unknown for you, right? Like, does he? I'm wondering. I don't know if your angle is going to be like an Alvin Kamara receptions prop or something like that, but I'm afraid to hit all of these because, like, does he try and force it to Chris Olave against the pass funnel defense with the Bucks? Does he just become a check down god and check everything down to Alvin Kamara? But it doesn't work because they're ready for it in Tampa Bay. There's not much about this offense that I really want to touch. I actually don't have much from this game at all. Like I said, I did bet Tampa as 2.5-point favorites before it moved. But that's all I have.
Maybe I can get you onto something or two. Maybe a couple of my sniffs will tickle your fancy. For
I want to
guess
I want to guess so bad what they are, but I don't know if
then put on your sniffsbook.com VR helmet and take the live prop on what is it.
I like that. That's a good callback right there. That's really solid.
Put on that VR helmet and what would you take on? And if you get these, because there are two of them, I'm going to give you a hint. I think one has since been removed. That's the big hint. The other one, if you get it, that's a bad look on me. And it doesn't mean it's obscure. It's not obscure.
Is it a Alvin Kamara prop?
Yes.
Is it over receptions?
No.
Okay, because I feel like that's going to be one of the chalkiest bets out there this week, right? Oh, dude, I love this bet. I love this bet.
Alvin Kamara has been one of the least efficient runners in the entire NFL these last two seasons. As I've mentioned a couple of times, they're handing him an unsustainable amount of carries for his frame. And even if you look at what he's doing with these carries, they're piling up, but there's really nothing that is available for that. Every line is taking that away. Also, he can't break tackles. He's not that kind of guy. He can run for what's there. And then if there are holes, yes, he is a home run hitter somewhat, not as much as when he was younger. But a couple weeks ago, I said, Dave, how is this run defense good? Every single year for 15 years, you're talking about a good run defense who's going to be focused on taking away the run because it's a quarterback in his first start. Yep. So I don't care how many carries they give Kamara. You have that Tampa run defense. And you have Alvin Kamara, who's playing through multiple injuries, 29 years old. They're handing him 45 carries a game. I'm going under 69.5. I just think that's a crazy high total.
I love it. So I was placing a bet here real quick.
There he is.
The tools.
Hey, we got him on
not
one.
Not the Kamara one. I want to see what the odds are on other books first. I want to see it there. Because, I can appreciate where you're going here. And it's also funny because
Tampa... Bet Rivers, 70.5.
Oh, I can't really bet there anymore. Kamara, 66.5.
Dave, you are aware, though, and users might... I don't want to insult your intelligence, but you understand that Ballybet is the same exact thing as Bet Rivers. So if you can't bet on Bet Rivers anymore because you're limited, just open up a Ballybet account, which is usually available wherever Bet Rivers accounts are.
Yeah, but they carried my limit over from when I went from like Sugar House or Bet Rivers to Sugar House.
Ballybet is a separate app.
Right. So, yeah. And then, so they carried.
You don't have to keep talking about this if this is weaselly shit.
No, it's not weaselly shit at all. I had Bet Rivers and then I downloaded the Sugar House app as well, which is a different app, and the limits carried over. But
so
maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it wouldn't
operates them all. That one that operates them all can be. I think it's called Camby.
Yeah, Camby, right.
So I guess, yeah, maybe the limits go through. Well, the majority of bettors who watch sports betting shows, I have news for you. They're not limited because they're not just clicking this. I'll tell you that right now. What they do is they watch this show with two screens up, one with us, and then as we talk about the topics, they enjoy it and slowly place what we're doing. Alex, that's incredible that you had that ready. They have they have their parlay tickets. So as we're talking about it, they've now added Alvin Kamara. So on Bet Rivers, you could still get him 70.5. If you're at the other ones, you're going to have to take that 66.5. I personally, my original philosophy was, look, this is what I think is going to happen. Okay, I got to spot you 2 yards, you prick. I'll spot you 2 yards. Maybe I'll even get cocky and take an alt under or do something like that. So if you agree with that sniff and you like it, I would say don't let a couple yards scare you away from it. I mean, pros will not tell you to do that. But just like my life is screw job prevent defense, my sports betting philosophies are sick prevent defense. If he goes way under and you didn't take it because it was a 2-yard difference, you'll be sick. And I need to live knowing that I screwed myself and not the other way around. Like, I'd rather lose and say, I took the 2 yards when I should have bet it early. Lesson learned. Than not do it. He's held to 30 yards and then I'm sick. So
I
that's my
understand
personal
that.
philosophy.
I get it.
So the other one that isn't available anymore, but when I gave it out, less was known at the time. So I believe it has both the running backs there. It was the Bucky Irving over on rushing yards, because this is where I'll borrow thought from the chalk donkey bettors, where it's okay, where if they're just going to win comfortably, if they win this game comfortably, then both of these running backs, and particularly Irving with Rachaad White, who had missed one practice at the time, he is the guy that is probably going to take the bulk of like the carries once the game is out of hand. This was one that I thought qualified for an alt over. Unfortunately, as the week progressed, Rachaad White, he got downgraded from like, what was it? Limited practice to no practice. And then that shut down the lines on Bucky Irving. So we'll see if they repop, or maybe they've popped this morning at some point. But the 37.5 that I got for Bucky Irving like a day or two ago is something that I like if this is a game where, they do end up winning comfortably. That's the type of thing where if I see them go up, if I see them up 7-0, I would even live bet a Bucky Irving, maybe alt over or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're basically 50-50 split right now to begin with.
Yeah, and he obviously is way more dynamic of a runner.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
so
sure.
many.
And
I guess
I thought the encouraging thing was even after he fumbled late in that game against the Falcons, Todd Bowles brought him right back out there.
I think that was because Rachaad White like rolled his ankle and they were scared to put him in there. And the
Didn't White
narrative
come
was that they
back
put
in
him back.
after that? Maybe not.
No.
He didn't come back in?
I'm pretty sure he did not.
Okay, well then that would
it had just happened a few plays earlier, and maybe this practice issue stems from that same injury, which didn't allow him to return to that game. Anyway, between the potential injury, I mean, if White is downgraded out, then Irving's total is going to be nuts. So
yeah,
that'll be a easy cash for me on that early one.
The fact that you bet it already, yeah. I got a couple spots for you.
Yeah, go ahead, help me out. Yeah, while you're pulling those, I'll throw one last one that I really like for the people.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I saw a little breakout performance last week. I was wondering why they weren't using him a little bit more, but now I think he really showed himself compared to what they have in the backfield in Dallas. The Rico Dowdle rushing and receiving. He was pretty much the reason why they won that game. That touchdown where he got out there, Dak found him, but he was running effectively too. And I don't think you bring down a guy's usage. So he's being ramped up usage. I think he's getting the full usage in this game. I think minimal touches for anybody not named Rico Dowdle in this game against the Lions.
No issues. Ezekiel Elliott's dust. He's done.
That was one of my futures, by the way. 550 rushing yards on the year was his season long.
For who? Dowdle or Elliott?
Zeke.
Yeah, for Elliott. The only thing I hate here is that the defense for Detroit will turn you into a one-dimensional offense. Like, what's Dowdle's receiving prop?
It's usually around 13.
I bet it's higher this week. It's at 15.5. Juice to the over. So yeah, it's around 30. Yeah, it's around there. I
say no. It's just something I felt.
No.
I have this weird sixth sense.
That's not what I'm contemplating. What I'm contemplating is, do I just like the receiving yards more?
So I've made this mistake. I used to think, like, I don't get it. This is like the Tony Pollard in their offense. If this was Tony Pollard, he'd be at 18, 19, 20. They don't design screens for this rat bastard. I was sick because I had the receiving over for him last week, and he had like one catch for 6 yards all game. And only because of that broken play in the fourth quarter, he hit his over on like a 20-something yard touchdown pass. And I don't know. And I've done it multiple times. And the other game that he hit cleanly, they were down by so many scores that it still took him a fourth quarter check down to hit his over. The receiving has been a real scare with Rico Dowdle, which is exactly why I went to the rushing and receiving. In case they go down by a lot randomly again, which I've done a couple times this year, and then he does get some of those checkdowns. He just ran well against the Steelers. I do believe he'll be able. I mean, the Cowboys throw so much, it's like they throw to open up the run. I kind of like this spot for Dowdle, man.
Okay. I like the receiving yards a little bit more there than you do.
No
I
problem.
think. Well, I just think that this is one of those games where they could be legitimately forced to just only throw the football. I have a lot of respect for this Detroit defense, a lot of respect for this Detroit offense. That's kind of just like a powder keg there. Once that goes off, and it's like, well, you can't run and you can't stop their offense. What does it flip to? And then do you see that type of game against, like we saw right against New Orleans and against Baltimore? He had 5 targets in both.
Now, why don't you hit us with some of those ones that you like?
Sure. Also, I grabbed the Jags money line at plus 120. That one, you want to bet that the public's going to hate is the Jags this week, right? Rookie, Caleb Williams, exciting. DeAndre Swift's playing well. The secondary's playing elite football right now. How they just coming off a blowout win. Jacksonville got a 3-point divisional win just to avoid going to 0-5. Who would ever want to bet Jacksonville spread, let alone money line? I would. This is their home away from home. It's the international game in London. Trevor Lawrence is 3-1 career in London. He's the only rookie to ever win a start in London. The others are 0-5, so it's a small sample, but no other rookies have won in London. They have a lot of experience in these games in London, and like I'm not sold that you've got Caleb Williams and a questionable coaching staff coming out and winning this. So instead of grabbing, actually, matter of fact, it says Bears -2, but this is 1.5 and 1 everywhere now. Last time I looked. So it's actually moved towards Jacksonville. Instead of doing
that's the wink. That's the wink letting you know it's a rat typically. People are betting on the Bears, and it's moonwalking the other way. They want more people to bet on the Bears. But then the hurricane is going to take out the village. They're showing you. They're showing you.
And then, look, there's always going to be people when the Bears end up winning, they go, told you. Like it was a lock. It's just not how it works. Like my dumbass last week, right? With the Browns, thinking that was a fishy line. They ended up getting trashed. I took the L. But also, like I was on a lot of other. What's that?
It doesn't matter.
No,
we don't tell you to bet the other side. We say blanket avoid the scary ones to prevent the previous screw jobs that happened week after week after week. The same person who bet on the Niners on his eliminator, they lost to Arizona. Same person who bet once he learned Neighbors was out, they took the Seahawks, they lost. So yes, you got to understand, it was like a medieval battle. They shoot the arrows into the air. You happen to be standing in an area where one didn't fall. But every single week, it's that moment.
Yeah.
You want to be standing there? Because that bet is on that battlefield. Every once in a while I come up with a relatively preposterous reference. I hope that one was clear. People understood.
I think it's very good, as a matter of fact. And most people end up being Rob Schneider from Grown Ups. There it is. Man, you're quick, dude. I don't care how dumb the movies are. I'll watch any movie that Adam Sandler puts out. I love that guy.
Okay, he's got you. Hook, line, and sinker.
Always. I grew up watching Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore with my dad when I was
when they became shit.
What?
I gave him a long leash. I was watching, I can quote Little Nicky. It started to get ugly after that. And that's when I kind of tossed in the towel.
I mean, there are some that basketball movie he just did is awesome. Not a fan?
Okay. No. Different late. What's the one with the gems again?
something gemstones.
Yeah, uncut gems.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tank Bigsby over 38.5 rushing yards. This is just one of those spots for me where even if Travis Etienne is still the guy, Tank Biggs. Let me throw a couple things at you here. This is wild.
Yeah,
so
he is a big topic of conversation this week. Is he the number one? And then the coach has to come out and say Etienne's our number one.
I'm not even saying
one of
he's
the most
number
efficient.
one, though. I'm not even saying he's the number one. I don't think he necessarily needs to be.
Yeah, so, look, if I'm giving Irving, then you can give Bigsby.
Yeah. Okay. This guy is 5th among all running backs in missed tackles forced, despite being 42nd in rushing attempts. He's 1st in yards per attempt by a mile. He's 1st in PFF's elusiveness rating. He's 1st in yards after contact per attempt by a mile. And clearly these aren't sustainable rates, right? They're not sustainable rates. If you start getting more volume. But how do you not just give this guy more work? The Bears have maybe the best secondary in the league, but they've been carved up in the ground. 38.5 is low to me. I also like DeAndre Swift over 16.5 receiving yards, but that's at 19.5, 20.5 in some spots. I think you can still get 8.5 on BetMGM. This is a Jacksonville team. By the way, you guys get to watch this in the morning on Sunday. Jacksonville team that has been torched by pass catching running backs. I mean, torched. But forget about pass catching running backs in general. Devon Achane, 7 for 74. James Cook, 4 for 48. Ty Johnson, 3 for 28. Dare Ogunbowale, 4 for 47. Tyler Goodson, 3 for 31. Trey Sermon, 6 for 25. And since week 2, I don't include week 1 because he wasn't targeted, only Alvin Kamara has more receiving yards than DeAndre Swift. So, at sub 20, give it to me. I laddered him up to 40 as well.
I like that, man. When you hear somebody say a play and it actually clicks, that is something I would have bet. I wasn't aware of those minuscule stats. Why? Because I started looking at hockey stuff. I'm starting to slip. I'm starting to go. I can't be fighting that 2-front war because it's cold in Moscow right now. And is there anything else maybe before we cook them up? A little Christopher Walken, speaking of that click remote parlay?
Just like the rest of you, one leg at a time.
All right, give me the Bigsby spot.
So we'll start with the over on Tank Bigsby rushing. I'm willing to go down with the ship. I texted Dave about Jacobs. I'm like, look, man, this is fishy, but I guess I just got to do it. I did it, and it was all right. He hit his over. I even think he hit his regular over. But I got to do this T. Higgins thing. I got to do it. I just got to do it, and I'm going to go with 80-plus receiving yards. One thing I brought this for you.
I'm adding these up for us, by the way. I'm getting them in.
Not specifically for you, Alex. I sent you a picture that somebody sent to me because I don't have access to it. The bet that we talked about, just to show you what it was like. The T. Higgins fantasy point bet that is available on DraftKings Sportsbook. To some mysterious people, it's available. And I'm not taking it because, to me, the receiving line is way better. But I just wanted to show you what it's like. And DraftKings scoring applies. You get the bonus at 100 yards. So DraftKings scoring rules apply to these bets, which is cool. I mean, Jamar Chase is like a 100-yard guy. So you could be looking at a free 3 points there. So I wouldn't like Higgins for this because he's not somebody who frequently is going over 100. But there are players who these types of bets would be great for. Isn't that pretty interesting?
It's very interesting. Yeah. I actually bet Saquon Barkley. I bet over fantasy points. I remember that.
So you do have them. It would be under player specials.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up now. Let's see. Let's see if I still have it. Player specials.
Who's the Willy Wonka pulling the strings, or the Wizard of Oz just removing and?
But yeah, I have it. I have it.
This guy's got it. Give me the Rico Dowdle rushing and receiving.
Okay.
Yeah, give me the over on that.
You know what? I'll go to the DeAndre Swift here. I still think the 18.5 is a decent number on Swift.
There you go. You got a 4-leg same game parlay for week 6 here. And we know you get 4 legs. We know you have those boosts available. Why? Because you parlay everything. And when you parlay everything, they try to entice you to do more parlays. And it's just a parlay cascade where they just keep getting bigger and the boosts keep getting bigger. And you find yourself in one of these little inward tornadoes. But who knows? Maybe we can get you out of it with a cash on this 4-legger here. As far as anything else that comes to me and I cook up, I'll have to put that on the Patreon this weekend because there's going to be no individual NFL video. I have some things that I have to take care of, but thank you guys once again for coming back. I know this one went over an hour approximately, and if you think it's too long, you hit the 2x button, you donkey. However long you think it is, speed it up by that amount. Can you figure that one out? Wait, how do I do that? There's a button. It says 1x. Change the 1x to 2x. But now it's talking too fast. Well, maybe you need to reassess where your priorities are here. All right? That's the nice, kind way we're going to end this week 6. Good luck to all you guys out there. Obviously, better luck to Dave. Best luck to me. Obviously, we will be back with you again week 7. Do all the things that make a difference. It really does, guys. I'm not one of these people who, puts out videos about God knows what, gets 800,000 views, but I'm in that infancy stage and you guys are helping. Really, if you saw when the season started, it was at 12.9 subscribers. Now it's at 15 something, I think, in a few short weeks. And it's all because you guys are commenting things and whatnot and letting us know what you like. Maybe we'll try to get back to some of those questions. I know there were some gargoyles down there. I tried to answer some of them as well. So gargoyles, pirates, and everybody in the zoo, let us know if you're still appreciating the show as much as you have been so far. Make sure you check out Dave's videos over on Odd Shoppers. He gives out goods. He's convinced me on that Swift. He's convinced me on a couple plays today. He talked me out of the Kirk Cousins thing, which I now have to switch out of. One of the best reasons we're doing this show here. Always a pleasure. We hope to see you next week. Take it easy. Dave, enjoy your weekend. And watch out for other MegaloDAN people walking around.